This is Jeff Olson, and welcome to the Network International satellite broadcast. Today, we're very fortunate to have probably the premier trainer in this industry, Mr. John Kalench. He's here with us, and he's going to share with you a lot of information on network marketing and how to build your business. And John Kalench has a very strong background. I've worked with him for a number of years, have attended a number of his seminars, have used his seminars throughout my organization, have used his books and his tapes to build my business. And we're just very lucky to have him here today with us. Now, John Cailleach has a very strong background in this industry. First of all, he's been in the industry for 13 years, so think about that. You know, I always talk about modeling, finding people who've been successful in the industry and model what they're doing. Well, he's been there, and he's been up and down within this industry, and he's been very successful in this industry. And he's going to share with you ideas from that to build your business. Beyond that, for the last 5 years, he's been with Millionaires Emotions. That's a company he put together, which is basically a generic training company that designs programs and tools for you to build your business, and that's really where we're going to get all our information from. Now, John has authored a number of books. First of all, this book here is a book that I've used for a number of years to drive my business. It's Being the Best You Can Be in MLM Marketing. And I just think it's the strongest, most generic information available out there, and we're going to be referring to this a lot today. Also, he authored the book, The Greatest Opportunity in the History of the World. Now, this book is, in my opinion, probably the strongest books for addressing new people, and we'll talk about this book later on. But for new people looking at this industry, he's in the process now of authoring a book called The 17 Secrets of the Master Prospector. As you all know, that is something that we're all very interested in, and he's going to address that again also today. Matter of fact, Mr. Cailleach is the MLM-IA, or the International Association. He's won the Presidential Award for Excellence in Training for the last 2 years. So as you can see, he's been down the road. He's able to put his information together in a very concise manner that allows you to draw from it the information you need to develop your business. And we're just very fortunate to have him here today to share with us some insights on developing that business. So let's just get started. First of all, Mr. John Cailleach right here. Thanks for coming today.
My pleasure, Jeff.
He's been down the road for a long time, like I said, and 5 years ago he made a decision to start Millionaires Emotion. And what I'd like to do is, first of all, so these people can get a feeling for who you are and where you come from, kind of bring them up to that point in time. What got you into network marketing, where you went in network marketing, and then how did Millionaires Emotion started, and why that name, really? That's the name I want to hear about.
Great.
So.
Yeah, I like to tell my story.
Go ahead.
Before being introduced to network marketing, I was in the medical industry. And I started off as a salesperson working with a company that specialized in the sales of orthopedic products and devices. And that was my first experience getting into sales, getting into business. I kind of rebelled all during my 20s. Okay? Didn't take life seriously until I was about 30 years old. And so I guess I was so afraid of failing, I just worked very, very hard, worked my way up to a sales manager position. And that's where I learned first and foremost, Jeff. When I was put in a position of training others and teaching others principles that made a difference in my life, I fell in love. I just absolutely fell in love with the concept of teaching. So I knew that there was a value within me, that I just loved to come from that space of contribution and service and education. So I worked as a sales manager for a while, learned a few things there, and also learned that the company that I was working for and training all of its salespeople for wasn't even close to paying me the kind of money that I was making it. So that's when I remember getting my first entrepreneurial bug that bit me. And I decided to branch out on my own and start my own medical brokerage business. Worked hard for about 2.5, 3 years, making all kinds of personal sacrifices, which you know, you've got to make a lot of sacrifices to get a business going. And build a distribution network around the United States. And after about 2.5 years, it got to the point where a lot of my friends were referred to it as a money machine. I was making more money than I'd ever envisioned in my life before. In fact, Jeff, I can honestly tell you I was making more money than I thought I was worth back then. Okay? And, but no matter how much money I made, I didn't have this feeling of being personally fulfilled and satisfied through the work. It wasn't like a vehicle that really allowed me to express myself and be what I supposedly wanted to be at that time in my life. So I guess I was in search of something else, and that's when I got my first phone call from a friend that introduced me to the concept of multi-level. That's what it's called, MLM back then, and multi-level marketing. Now the more progressive name for it, obviously, is network marketing. And I'll never forget how excited this guy was over the phone. I mean, he was just ranting and raving. He was very enthusiastic. He just got linked up with this enterprise, with this company. He told me a little bit about the company, established credibility over the phone and stuff, and then told me a little bit about the products, and he'd been using them himself for a while, shared it with his family and his friends, and they were just making an incredible difference with their lives. And then he told me a little bit about the couple that brought him into the business, the husband and wife team, and how successful they were and how supportive they were. And then he started to say some things to me, Jeff, that just lifted me off my seat, wanted to go over to his house, take a look at what he was doing. And he started off by telling me, you know, the first thing that this couple that brought me into the business told me that I needed to do, John, was make a list of all the people that I know. Okay, all the people that I know and I respect. And John, in making that list, your name kind of like popped up there on the top. And I was just thinking about you and all the people that you know and the kind of respect and the circle of influence that you have. He said, John, if you just saw anything at all in this thing like I do, he says, I just know you could do really well at this. We can make a lot of money together. We can have a lot of fun. He said, but I'm not sure this is something that's right for you and something that you really be interested in getting involved in. He said, but I tell you what I'd really appreciate is if you come on by my house, take a look at this thing, and just let me know what you think, because I really value your opinion. So I kind of found it pretty hard to turn him down or call him a liar, right? So I went over to his house, and it was really, I'll never forget that night as long as I'll ever. Sat there in my friend's home, and he had the couple there that brought him into business, and there was about 2 or 3 other people that he invited there, and my friend started off by telling his story, and then he introduced a couple that brought him into the business, and they were very articulate, very professional, extremely enthusiastic, and they gave the basic presentation what it was all about. And then it was that night was when I first saw the circles presented on the board. They took us into the living room, and they kind of showed that this is how the plan works. And see, I'd never seen those circles before. Here at this time in my life, Jeff, I was 36 years old. Never saw those circles, never knew what this concept or process was all about, but I fell in love with it that night. I mean, head over heels, mad passionately in love with it. And I remember driving home that night from the meeting so excited, man. It was incredible, because for the first time in my life, I was presented a method of doing business that made complete and unconditional sense to me, that my success would be directly dependent upon how many people I help become successful. And that competition wouldn't have to be an issue in my life anymore if I didn't want it to be. And see, that for me, that was like a big revelation, because I understood now that no matter how much money I made in the medical industry, why I didn't have that feeling of being personally fulfilled and satisfied. Because there's always been that part of me that wanted to be like a teacher and a coach. That's kind of like in my value system. And when I came from that space in the medical industry, it came back to haunt me in the form of creating competition, invariably. So I ended up having to hold back what I wanted to be in order to financially prosper in that business. And no matter how much money I made, it never made up for the incongruency I was experiencing in my value system. So I just fell in love with the concept of network marketing. I was laying there in bed that night, on my back, and the ceiling in my bedroom just turned into this window of future possibilities. And I was just out there racing about all the wonderful things that I could achieve and do and have, and most importantly, be as a result of this. So I thought about it all night long, and I just knew that this was going to be in my blood for a long time, and it has been 13 years now. Been doing it full time. And one of the first things I wanted to do was establish a goal that kept me in alignment with the pure principles behind this concept. And that's where I came up with the name of my company, Millionaires in Motion, because my lifetime goal, after staying up all night long thinking about it, was that by the time I die, I want to have 1 million friends. And so I established the goal off of that, and been working, like I said, pretty hard ever since. Over the past 13 years of being in the business, Jeff, I've been associated with 3 different companies, never 2 at the same time. I don't believe in trying to ride 2 horses at one time or wearing 2 hats or whatever you want to call it. You can't serve 2 masters and so forth. But I had to basically go through 3 different companies in order to get to where I am. And the last company that I was with, and with all 3 companies, I had built large networks, and I was a top-level distributor with each one of them. And the last company I was with as a top-level distributor, my network was growing by leaps and bounds all over the country. We were only doing business in the United States at that time. And the people were just begging for good, solid training and good, solid education. And the company had its hands full just keeping up with what was going on. And so we founded this concept called Millionaires in Motion, which was a training program. And we started off with a 2-day workshop called The Start of Something Big. And at that time, it was geared strictly to provide education and training for my particular network. And then the word got out because what we were doing was really working. And so other sales leaders within that company started asking, hey, can you do the training for us and so forth. And so we started doing that, and it was really working. I mean, one weekend we were just taking people that were really excited about the opportunity, but were novice. They didn't know exactly what to do and how to get started and stuff. We were taking them in one weekend through not only the information, but the method of teaching, and making them, or helping them become confident and competent within just a matter of 2 days, so that they walked out of there after a weekend and they owned the information, and they felt confident in how they're going to apply that information. So we were getting a lot of success. Business was going great. And sometimes as things happen, eventually the company just went in one direction and I went in another, and a lot of enthusiasm was being lost there by the field and so forth. And so what I noticed, Jeff, was that what we were doing as far as training was really working. It was making a difference with a lot of people. And I also noticed that, gosh, I just love to do that more than anything else. And I'd gotten to a point where I proved what I could do as far as building a network. And now there was a way that I could express myself in a different way, and make a difference, something I've always wanted to do. So we took the concept of Millionaires in Motion just a little over 5 years ago, and we said, well, if it works for one company, it can work for any company. You know, it's not a matter of the product, it's really a matter of the principles. You know, so we took the concept of Millionaires in Motion in that workshop, and we made it generic, independent. So 5 years ago, in order to come from a space of pure education and support for everyone in the industry, then we disassociated ourselves with any one particular network marketing company, which means anyone associated with Millionaires in Motion does not have any financial interest with any one network marketing company. Our sole purpose is to provide education and support for the entire industry. And well, I'll never forget, we started a little over 5 years ago with 13 students, ended up having to fly about 3,500 miles for that first 2-day workshop, lost about $3,000 doing a workshop, and, but it sure did evolve from there. I mean, the word of mouth got out, and what we did was making a difference with people, and now, you know, like you mentioned, we get a chance to travel all over the world. Jeff, I get to work with the best of the best of the best of the best in network marketing like yourself. And you know, if there's one thing that I have discovered about myself is that I'm twice the student that I am the teacher. And I've learned how to, you know, study people like yourself and others that are highly successful in this business, and how to match and mirror and model and glean. In fact, that's why I'm talking so fast. I'm just trying to keep up with you, you know, and how to really glean the principles that these people use over and over and over again to achieve their phenomenal success. And if there's anything that a lot of people say that MIM, or Millionaires in Motion, is pretty good at, is that in packaging those principles and presenting them in a way and a method of teaching that it really makes a difference for the average person, that they walk out of one of our events really owning that, and that they apply it, and then through the application of it, they have an opportunity to master it, and then it does make a tremendous difference in their life. So I'm really excited where we are right now. Our business is growing, your business is growing, the industry of network marketing is exploding all over the world, so the future is very bright, and I'm just excited to be a part of it.
Well, John, that's excellent. And you know, that's exactly why I wanted to have you here today, because my belief is in anything you want to become successful in, it really doesn't matter where you're at. It's more important where you're going to be a year from now.
Yes.
And I've always said commit to the process, or do the thing you have the power, like Emerson said. And I said, no matter where you're at, to get from where you're at to where you want to go, there's basically 3 processes. First is learn knowledge, learn everything you can, and from somebody like you, there's a lot to be learned. Number 2 is activity knowledge, and for all the people listening in today, I hope they understand that you're going to give them principles, but it doesn't work unless they take it to the field.
Yes.
And then the third one is modeling, and that's exactly what we're doing here today. And so what I've asked John to do today is to cover a number of subjects. First of all, we're going to talk about why network marketing, and why it's here and where it's going in the 1990s. Then we're going to get into goals and purpose, how to develop how to take this industry and develop a program, but more importantly, what do you want out of this industry and how to put that together. Then we're going to talk about something I think, John, is very important, and we talked about this earlier, and that is how to get started. And I've always said ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice. And
I agree with that.
It's how to get started in this industry and get off to a fast start. And probably one of the most important parts of that is we're going to talk about prospecting. And your new book, The 17 Secrets of Prospecting, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that.
Thanks.
And then how to present the opportunity. And there's some very basic fundamentals in presenting an opportunity to make the person feel comfortable and understanding it. And then we're going to get into the course, the thing that we all have to deal with, and how to overcome objections, how to deal with those naysayers out there, the dream stealers. And then we'll get into the follow-through and the training and that type of thing. But let's get into the first subject, and that is why network marketing. You know, this is something that's very special to me. You know, my background, as you know, was in corporate America, where I used to be a marketing manager at Texas Instruments, and then in small business America, I was a president of Sun Air of America. And I remember when I saw this industry for the first time, it excited me, but for me, I had to find the rhyme and reasons for it. You know, number one, where it was coming from, and then where it was going. And you know, distribution, as you well know, has changed considerably in the 1900s. You can go back to the 1920 when the first department store was formed, and W.T. Grant's, and actually it was outlawed until 1931, and then the fair trade laws were passed, and then it grew. And that was a form of distribution, taking products to the end user. And then we evolved. In 1959, there was a new form of distribution called franchising. And if you remember, if you've studied it, that was an industry that was being attacked by the news media, the regulatory people. Actually fell 11 votes short of being outlawed.
You bet.
In 1959 in the United States Congress.
Wouldn't that have been a shame?
That would have been terrible. $758 billion industry now.
You bet.
And a dominating force out
Over
there.
35% of our gross national product or something like that.
And 11 votes short. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
And then, you go to the late 60s and early 70s, there's another form of distribution that started evolving called the supermalls. And that is actually what created Sears, the great retail giant, and now it's what's choking Sears. Faith Popcorn, the #1 futurist, when she talks about the changes in distribution, she says by the year 2000, supermalls will be a dinosaur in the grand scheme of things. But again, it was another form of distribution. Then I remember when I was at Texas Instruments in retail and consumer electronics, the next form of distribution came, that was catalog showrooms. And I'll never forget everybody getting their first catalog saying, what is this? Grew to be a $208 billion industry. And at that point in time, right around then, there was a new form of distribution starting to take hold in direct sales, within it network marketing. It started, I think, in its infancy in the 70s and 80s, started maturing, and now in the 1990s it's exploded onto the scene. And so, John, with your background, having been in this industry for 13 years, what I'd like you to do is just kind of give us some insights to why you think network marketing evolved, and more importantly, where it's going in the 1990s and the purpose it's going to serve.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. It never ceases to amaze me that in the seminars and the workshops that I do, no matter where we go, what a strong percentage of the people that are already in the business don't really understand network marketing.
Right, exactly.
It's like they're very connected to the company and they're very connected to their product and so forth, and they have this natural enthusiasm about it, which is very healthy, but they lack the enthusiasm because they lack the belief in what the industry really is all about and what it's potentially capable of achieving. And so I'm a firm believer, like Goethe, the great German poet of the 18th century, that once said, what we do not understand, we can never possess. And there's so many people out there that are trying to possess the power of network marketing, but yet don't understand it. And Jeff, if there was people out there that knew what you and I know about network marketing, they would love it, yes?
Exactly.
They absolutely love it.
Anytime you sit down with somebody who really understands distribution, explain it to them,
You bet.
and they see that there is a rhyme and reason for it, they fall in love with it.
You bet. And what's interesting is that if you take people back to the beginning, I wrote my second book, at the risk of sounding like an advertisement, it's called The Greatest Opportunity in the History of the World. I wrote that book specifically for two reasons.
I'm sorry, I meant to mention that.
That's all right, no problem.
It's a great, that's a great book for when you bump into people out there. Or, you got to realize that corporate America is downsizing and small business America is backing up. And
Yep.
Retail America is probably had the worst 7 years in a row. Franchising, which I just described earlier, is plateaued out. And with all those things going backwards, this industry is growing. And what I have found is, as I bump into people out there coming out of there, they, like you're talking about right now, they don't really understand the industry. And what I've been able to do is use this book, The Greatest Opportunity in the History of the World, to get them to understand or get insight to why this industry is so. In their mind, they can see, yes, there is a purpose for this industry.
Sure, yeah, because if they really understood it, they would love it. They would have to embrace it. Maybe they wouldn't be in it, but they would at least understand it and not say negative things about it.
I can never do anything else.
Yeah.
I can never go back to corporate America. I can never go back to small business America once you understand the leverage and the freedom this industry has.
Exactly. And what we try to do in the book is we try to take people back a little over 50 years ago when the industry started to kind of help them understand how it evolved to that particular point.
Yeah, that's what I want.
And then it brings them up, like all the legal challenges the industry had to go through, and how it overcame those legal challenges and proved to be a viable method of doing business. Now, of course, there's always people, there's always individuals, there's always entities out there that are going to misuse any kind of a pure principle. And so it's had its challenges, but not because the system is dysfunctional.
They happen in franchising.
You bet, exactly. And so now the book kind of educates people as to why some of those things happen, how they happen.
You go through some of those.
And go through the whole scenario of where the industry started 50 years ago, everything that it went through, bring it up to the current date of where it is today, how it's become now America's fastest growing method of distributing new products and services. And how it's just exploding, and of course now it's going all over the world, the free world anyway. They're just embracing it and so forth. And then it talks about where the industry is going in the future and basically why, not only nationally but globally. And when you study any industry, like you take a look at, first of all, take our country. We evolved at the turn of the century from the agricultural age to the industrial age, and now we're in this age called information and service. When it's the countries that are going to be successful, the businesses that are going to be successful are going to be measured on how fast and how efficient they are in transporting and storing information, and what kind of service that they give on a personal type of basis. And you take a look at network marketing. I mean, that's the crust, that's the foundation of what it is we do as an industry, as a business. And then you take a look at any industry, and you take a look at its history, how it evolves. You have what they call, experts say, that has the innovative cycle, and then there's the infrastructure cycle, and then there's the diversification and competition cycle. Well, 50 years ago, and for the last 50 years, basically, network marketing has been in this innovative cycle. It's just been evolving as far as this idea, and it's just becoming more and more refined and more and more refined. And now corporate America, big companies, big people are taking a look at this thing, and they're saying, hey, this thing's for real. It's no longer just an idea, it's for real. I mean, products and services are just being moved so much more effectively. People are being compensated compensated and rewarded in the effort. Lots of value is being added every step along the way. And so lots of people are just seeing that this thing is for real. So now it's just starting to move into the infrastructure cycle where big money, big thinkers, big entrepreneurs are willing to put the money into the system to create a global infrastructure. Right. And once that's in place, Jeff, it's just going to be wow. Then you're going to see the competition and diversification cycle where there's just going to be more and more powerful companies. You're going to be able to have more choices, and it's just going to get better and better and better every step along the way. So I just love to tell people that if they knew what I know about network marketing, if they knew what you know about network marketing, they'd be in it right now. They'd be in love with it, mad passion in love with it.
It's like everything. The key in life is, I've always said that we all know somebody uglier and stupider than us, who's richer than us.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of exaggerating there, but the fact is it must have nothing to do with knowledge and looks. It has more to do with timing and positioning. And like anything, it's get in front of the wave, not behind the wave.
Yes.
And the problem, John, when I'm out there talking, is what I find is a lot of people, when they're looking at this emerging industry, their models of success don't prepare them for what they're looking at. And I always quote a German philosopher named Arthur Schopenhauer, who I think describes opportunity better than anybody. He says, all opportunities go through 3 stages. First of all, be ridiculed. And second of all, be opposed, which is what franchise and department stores and catalogs and everything went through. And then third, it will serve as self-evident. It will become a means of distribution. And he goes on to say, really, about 3% of us will ever get involved in the first 2 categories where the opportunity lies, and 97% of us will wait until it's more self-evident.
You bet. Prove it to me. Prove it to me.
Prove it to me. That's great, John. What I really like to do for the viewers now is kind of give us some insights as to why you think network marketing is where it's at, why it's now evolving to a very special form of distribution, and where you think we're going to be by the year 2000.
Okay. First of all, network marketing, the timing for it is perfect right now because people are ready for change. People really want things to change, not only nationally but globally. Okay, and network marketing is a vehicle for doing that. I mean, I take a look at network marketing, and I don't even know if we're going to recognize it by the year 2000. Okay, it's going to be really different. It's going to be powerful. One of the reasons that it's advancing so quickly right now is because of the way technology is kind of bringing it along. It's allowing us to communicate more effectively.
I don't think there's one industry that is affected more by technology than in this industry.
Absolutely.
I mean, you go back just 15 years ago and you look at the phones and faxes and conference calling. It wasn't even available. Now in a little office you can put for a few $1,000s everything you need to drive an industry. And that cottage-based industry is one of those explosions that's going on out there. Network marketing fits right into it.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are in the information and the service age, and we're using technology, and we're serving both industries here, technology as well as network marketing. It's just growing side by side.
Faith Popcorn, that book, Popcorn Report. Again, a book.
Oh yeah, great
Everybody
book.
should read that book.
Everybody should have that in their library, you bet.
She says the shopping center of the 1990s will be the home and office cocoon. Those companies that can penetrate it will be the distribution giants.
Absolutely. And you take a look at, like, when you talk about network marketing globally, I get really passionate about this particular thing because I see network marketing as an instrument, as a vehicle that's going to really help eventually resolve some of the major situations that face our planet. I mean, major situations because people are ready for change. They're just looking for a way of facilitating that. And network marketing is an instrument to do that because it brings people together of common mind, common goal, common purpose, and allows them to rally around a common thing to make a difference in the world. One thing I would just love to see, and I hope we see it, hope we see it by the year 2000, is to bring the resources, the entities that are involved in this industry collectively together. What a lobbying force that would be. I mean, you take a look at 8 to 10 million Americans that are participating in network marketing today, but many of which are kind of like separate entities out there trying to do their own thing.
Exactly.
But if we come together, I mean, look at the lobbying force we have.
The synergism effect.
Use synergy and to combat the powers out there that are trying to suppress this form of free enterprise.
Well, they're so heavily invested in their form of distribution.
Oh, you bet. And if we don't come together, they've got a good chance of chinking our armor. And when we come together, though, what a power, what a power. But like, as an example, one thing, say world hunger. All right, now is world hunger really an issue? We talk about major problems that face our planet, okay? Is that really an issue of lack of food, or is it an issue of politics and lack of distribution? And what better way to break down the political barriers when you can bring people of different creeds, different races, different nationalities, different cultures, different faiths together because they're rallying behind a common purpose, common goal of adding value and touching people in a special way. And they're using certain vehicles in order to do that collectively. So it breaks all those political barriers. Then when you set up the method of distribution that's inherent within network marketing, you can resolve those kind of major challenges. Same with the environmental issues. So network marketing is going to be a powerful force, just a powerful force. And I'm just so excited to be a part of it. I mean, and young enough to be able to see it evolve. corporate America is proving to slowly become dysfunctional, and wise business people are looking for alternate solutions.
Exactly.
And network marketing is becoming the most logical. In fact, some people are referring to it as a logical next step in the evolution of the free enterprise system.
Right.
And what's beautiful about it, as opposed to having to have employees to make it work, everybody has their own business and makes it work. So they're working for themselves while they're working towards the whole. It's like they're part of a bigger thing, but at the same time, though, they have their own freedom to express themselves and be the best that they can be. You know, if it's $10,000 a month, or if it's $1,000 a month, or if it's $100,000 a month, there's no limits, there's no ceilings.
And all levels of distribution, there's
bet.
levels of hierarchy like that.
You bet. And people are starting to see it. They're starting to see it. They're starting to see it, and they're moving towards it now in droves. In droves. In fact, one of the things, if I can expand on something here quickly, Jeff, is our name of our company, Millionaires in Motion. I told you it's based on our goal of having a million friends, but the other part of it, it makes you think about what is the number one asset
you might
that
be
we're
a
trying
politician
to build.
here real soon.
Well, no thank you. No thanks. But it makes you think about what is the number one asset we're trying to build here in the pursuit of this network marketing business. Is it really the bonus check, or is it the number and the quality relationships that you can create and make a part of your life for it?
After that.
You bet. It only comes after touching the people in a special way, touching them in a special way.
Adding value.
And adding value. And in fact, if I can expand on that subject a little bit, that's the reason we came up with the second half of our company name is in motion. You know, I'm a firm believer of people being in motion, not waiting until you have the ideal situation, but moving towards what you're attracted to. Like, I like to use the example of, we have this thing in our country called NASA, which is our space program.
Right.
We got this space program with gazillions of dollars, some of the greatest minds, okay? And we've always heard that the shortest distance between point A and point B is a what? Straight line?
Right.
Okay? So you would think that, we had this president years ago, JFK, very charismatic president. He rallied the country around a common goal, common purpose, okay? Go to the moon. Put a man on the moon, return him safely back to Earth. So in my example, point B is the moon and point A is the Earth. And you would think with those gazillions of dollars and all those brilliant minds, okay, is that they could pretty much draw a straight line, especially since they can see the moon and they're sitting on the Earth. And when you take a look at how many times when we as entrepreneurs, and those people listening right now as entrepreneurs, when they set point Bs in their life, it's really something they can't see. They try to envision it, but most of the time it's a leap of blind faith. Right. But here in NASA, with all this talent and minds and money, can see the moon, okay, so they could draw a straight line. What's really interesting is that once that rocket takes off, experts say that it's less than 3% of the time it's on course. Right. So 97% of the time it's like, it's correcting and adjusting. So the point and the message that I got from that is that our success, and the people listening here, success in network marketing, it's not going to be based on the straightest line that they draw from here to where they want to go. It's going to be based on how fast and how willing they are to correct and adjust the actions they take right now.
Little baby steps.
Just right now. Just take them. Move towards what you're attracted to, and then have the wisdom to correct and adjust along the way. And in the power, with motion, with being in motion, you have one of the most incredible forces. It's a law of the universe, and I know you know about this. This law of the universe. It's called precession. And
talk about that.
You bet. And if I can illustrate a little bit about it, I'd kind of like to maybe share with the people as to how it works.
This is something I believe so much in.
Oh, it's very powerful.
You get into the process and you'll learn everything from that.
Just move towards what you're attracted to. Like in watching this show, if there's people out there that are saying, wow, this looks really good, it looks good to me, I'm attracted to it. You know, if you get those doubts, you get those fears, that's healthy. But move
That's called
towards
opportunity.
That's called opportunity. Just move towards it, and then have the wisdom to correct and adjust. Don't wait for it to be perfect, just move towards it. If you're
that's what
attracted
97% of people do. You wait until it's perfect, and then they're going to say, you know, darn, I wish I'd done that.
Yeah, darn, I wish I'd have done that, exactly. So here's this thing called the law of precession, and it was founded or created or discovered, whatever you want to call it, by R. Buckminster Fuller, who is one of the greatest futurists of our planet.
Right.
And he defined this thing called precession as when a body is in motion towards another body because it's attracted towards it, then always at a 90-degree right angle of that line of attraction, there is an equal, if not a greater result. In other words, it's like a side effect. That most people don't even know exists. Okay, and if I can use a couple of examples to illustrate, like here's one body, and it's called the sun. Okay, that is definitely a body, and it's definitely a body in motion. Right. Okay, and here's another body called the earth.
You're a great artist.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've been practicing this for a lot of time. I hope people aren't envious of my artistic acumen, but I work on this a lot. So here's two bodies, right? We have the earth and we have the sun. And the Earth is definitely attracted towards the sun. Would you agree?
Right.
Major attraction. In fact, there's even a gravitational force and pull.
Right.
The Earth wants to fall towards the sun. The Earth counts on the sun to sustain and create new life, and it just really wants to fall towards the sun. So here's this natural line of attraction. The Earth wants to move towards the sun. Now, the law of precession tells us that at a 90-degree right angle, or a side effect of that line of attraction, there is an equal, if not a greater result. And in this particular case, that precessional effect is called orbit.
Right.
Now, if it had not been for the law of precession and the side effect, we'd fall towards the sun.
And that'd
Okay.
be devastating.
Well, yes, we'd all become toast. Basically, the law of precession is saving our assets in this particular
Right.
case.
Right.
All right. And so that's why I kind of like to suggest to people that instead of falling in love with someone, you just orbit in love with them. Kind of lasts forever, you know. You don't have those big collisions and stuff.
Right.
So that's one example. And another example that I like to use, and believe me, I'm going to get to the point of how network marketing flows into this. But I really like people to understand the precessional effect and the power behind it, just moving towards what you're attracted to. So we have this other thing here. That's another body. And that's a flower. Now that is a body in motion because it's either growing or dying. It's constantly in motion.
Exactly.
Okay. And we have this other body, and this is where people are going to really know that I've been practicing my artistic stuff. Okay. And that's called a bee. Believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really that great in art.
Okay.
I was lying. But so here's this bee. Now the bee is naturally attracted towards a flower. Would you agree?
Right.
Oh, big time attraction. In fact, the whole life purpose of the bee is to move towards
Get
a
to that
flower.
flower.
You bet. And the reason for that is that the bee is attracted towards a flower to gather up not pollen but nectar to take back to the hive and make money.
Right.
Not money, honey. Right? Okay. So now
Money, honey.
money, honey. Right. So the precessional effect, okay, that most people don't seem to understand, but the law of precession tells us that at a 90-degree right angle of this line of attraction, there is an equal, if not greater result, and that is what we end up with here is cross-pollination. Powerful precessional effect.
Very important.
Powerful precessional effect, because when the bee's in the flower gathering up the nectar, the pollen grains can't help but adhere to its hairy little legs, and so it takes it back to another flower, and it cross-pollinates it.
Right.
We end up with the plant kingdom as an
Right.
end result, which is a lot more beneficial to us as a planet and as a human race than honey will ever be.
Right.
Okay? So what's really interesting, Jeff, is that the bee doesn't even know it's creating this. It doesn't know it's doing this for the planet. Doesn't know it's doing this for us. It's just doing what it's naturally attracted
Right.
to do, and it doesn't even know that it's creating more flowers for it to cross-pollinate or to gather nectar from in the process of doing what it's naturally attracted
I'll never
to do.
kill another bee.
Okay. So Jeff, let's take the law of precession and see how it applies to someone's network marketing
do that.
business. Okay. Let's take a person here. This could be you, me, anyone. All right. You, the listener. All right. Now, this is a body, right?
Right.
Hopefully it's in motion.
Hopefully.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Now, what is the number one attraction that most people have when they put their name on an application when they get into business? What's the number one thing they're attracted to?
I think freedom, opportunity, income, lifestyle.
Good. Pretty much all of which
They all
revolves
tie to
around,
dollars.
Right, to
Right.
dollars. Okay. And that is also a body?
Yes.
And would you say that's a body in motion? Yes.
Usually going away from people.
Yeah, but the main thing is to keep it in motion and get it coming towards you and then keep circulating it too. That's how
Exactly.
the whole global economy thing works. So here we have this an individual, network marketing, that is naturally attracted to this thing called money. Very healthy thing. Everybody deserves to be wealthy. And there's enough abundance on this planet for everyone to be
Isn't it
wealthy.
amazing people say money's not important?
Yes. Well, it is important if you would like to be able to express yourself and function freely within this world
Right.
and kind of make the differences you want to make with people that you care about or causes that you care about. See, in and of itself, money is nothing. It's nothing more than a tool and an instrument. What we do with it determines whether or not it has value.
Exactly.
But it's very healthy for people to have a lot of it because there's enough out there for every single person that walks on this planet, even the starving children in Somalia.
You know what's amazing is the fact is our gross national product is growing. There's more money today than there was yesterday. There'll be more money tomorrow, a year from now, than there is today.
Yep.
And the fact is, at the same time, they're saying there'll be 15 to 20% maybe unemployment in the 1990s, and it's because of problem. People don't know how to find how to get in front of those type of movements.
Yes.
And so this has always been there. It's just whether people can.
It's that
find their way
people are
to it.
moving towards scarcity thinking as opposed to abundant
Scarcity.
thinking. And there's not a lack of abundance, there's only a lack of abundant thinking and teaching.
Exactly.
Okay, because there's a heck of a lot of abundance out
You
there,
said
enough
that very
for
well.
everyone to
Right.
be wealthy, to be a millionaire. okay? Now, what's really interesting in being a student, like I mentioned to you before, I really study people. And I've studied a lot of people that have achieved a lot of this, okay? And one thing I've witnessed is that some people have done it in a way where this was the only thing that was important to them, was the achievement of money, okay? Everything they did every single day evolved around just getting the money. And they didn't care, basically, what it is they had to do, okay?
Right.
And I've witnessed that processionally. Many of these people create this thing called imbalance in their life.
Exactly.
Okay? And also greed. Okay? Now, I'm a firm believer that this is good, and everybody deserves a lot of it. Okay? But I'm sure that most people don't want to create this as a processional factor in their life. So what I focus is that in studying the people that create processionally this thing called balance in their life, being able to juggle all the things that are really important to you, okay, without dropping anything, okay, but really having, and if there's one key word to successful living, it's balance, in my opinion, okay, and also this thing called abundance. I mean, one thing I've studied about successful people that really have achieved wealth in a way that they feel good about is that they couldn't help but to share that wealth, that good, in other directions that just perpetuated even greater wealth back into their life, okay? The people that create this processionally, balance and abundance, they focus not on the destination of money. They focused on the day-by-day journey of doing this, Jeff. Every single day, this is what they focus their attention on, what we were talking about earlier.
Adding value.
Adding value. They just constantly focus their attention on this, not the destination, but the journey of adding value. They make sure that they're part of a system, they are part of a vehicle that allows them to express themselves and first and foremost, add value. So they're being true to themselves, so that they're making a difference. And then in the pursuit of adding value, they create this processionally, and obviously they create a lot of this.
Exactly.
And the more they created this, the more they do good with it, which creates even more of it. And so that's why I believe a lot of people are moving towards network marketing. They may not understand why yet, but they're moving towards it because what they had been doing in the past was not doing this and wasn't even getting this.
Right.
Okay, and now they're seeing a system that allows them to get as much of this as they want, but do this every single day along the way.
Right.
I mean, look at what you're doing with this show, Jeff. I mean, you're just so much out there compared to other people in the industry about adding value through this type of technology and communication. I mean, you're touching people in their home, in their cocoon right now, giving them information that could make a difference in their life.
Right.
I mean, you're focusing your attention on adding value. You're not charging people to watch this show. I mean, you just focus your attention on adding value, adding value, adding value. And that's why you create this in your life. And that's why, obviously, you create a lot of that as well.
Exactly. You know, you go back to the year 1900, I think there's like 95% of people in America work for themselves. And as technology and distribution changed and the corporations basically grew, and the huge corporations, basically it's gone to like 90% of people working for companies now. And what you're seeing now is a movement back towards people working for themselves, taking control of their own destiny, you know, moving back towards the family, that type of thing. And that's what this industry is all about, allowing people to do that. And I can't agree with you more, adding value, because you know, you work in a corporate structure. I was there. You go out every day and you try and add value a little bit. What does it really get you? The side effect is the company gets all the money. Okay. Versus here, it's like Zig Ziglar said: help enough people get out of their lives what they want.
Excellent.
You'll get everything out of your life you've ever wanted.
You bet.
And I can tell you this right now, I've been in this industry for a few years now, and I've had more rewards emotionally and friendship-wise and that type of thing than I ever got out of corporate America and small business America. And I couldn't agree more with the balance side. I've always said it's the way you walk, talk, breathe, act, look. And you and I have eaten together, and we both eat very healthy. And that's called balance.
And fast. Pretty fast.
Right.
Every time I'm around you, I do things fast now. You taught me that.
But you know, in wrapping up this part on network marketing, as you well know, I truly believe in it, and I think the 1990s are going to serve as as a test of this industry and where it's going to go, and it's going to become a major form of distribution. Is that home and office cocoon open itself up to products that are brought directly to them. Technology definitely is going to make it easier to do this, and I think what you're trying to say here is what people need to do is, don't analyze till you're paralyzed.
Right.
Don't sit back until it's self-evident. Don't make the mistake that Arthur Schopenhauer says everybody makes. Get involved in the process. And actually, most people start on a part-time basis, get into it. It's like I've always said, most people learn, you know, they treat life for opportunity, and we've always said there's abundance opportunity. They treat opportunity like somebody running around a pool trying to figure out how to swim. Well, you'll never learn how to swim. You got to put, you know, they're sticking their foot in the water.
Right.
That'll never happen. That's how most people do this industry, because they just stick their foot in the water. You know, you got to jump in. Now, I could only, my first year was only, I don't know about you, and when you're traveling the country, you probably find the same thing, but my first year was only 10 to 15 hours a week in the industry. Is that what you see out there?
Yeah, most of the people are starting that way.
Exactly.
And that's a healthy way to do it. If you're attracted towards it and you see some promise in it, you don't have to give up everything that you've built so far to take that risk. And you just move towards it if you're attracted towards it. And just move, then have the wisdom to correct and adjust along the way. Action, action, action. It's like when you were talking about swimming. An old sailor was asked one time if a man fell off this water into the pier or off this pier into the water, would he drown? And the old sailor replied, falling in the water doesn't drown the man, staying there does. It's a matter of getting into action, If you're attracted, move, then have the wisdom to correct and adjust.
Right. Well, that's what the rest of the show is going to be all about. We're going to get into how to present the opportunity, how to prospect, how to overcome objections, how to develop an organization, and what I hope that everybody can get from this show is some knowledge, some basic, good foundation knowledge, and understand that the more they do these things that we're going to talk about through this show, the better they're going to get. The better they get at anything, it opens up other opportunities within there. More knowledge is gathered, and from there they develop the programs they need to make their business work.
You bet. I'm going to do my best to share with them some tips that can make a difference. You bet.
Okay, that's great. You know, John, there's a big difference between getting $1 million and becoming worth $1 million. And Mark Twain once said, if I had 4 hours to cut down a tree, I spend the first 3 hours sharpening my axe, and 1 hour chop down the tree. And what I find too often is people, they get in this industry, they get all excited, and they don't spend any time sharpening their axe. And that's what we're going to get into now is sharpening that axe and becoming worth $1 million, and then everything else will happen.
You bet.
And you know, what I have found out is people, or the successful people out there in almost anything I've ever watched, were the people that knew where they're going. They had their goals set. And you people, we're going to talk about goals, okay? I'm excited about you sharing with us some ideas about goal setting and purpose, because I think those two things go together, you know?
Yeah, they sure do.
You know, it's amazing, most people don't even write down their goals.
You're absolutely right. Most people don't, and those that do, many times they don't write goals that empower them. Okay?
They're not clear.
Yeah, they're not really clear, and they're not setting goals that are important to them. Maybe important to other people.
But they know how to go on a vacation. They know how to get to a movie.
Yeah, yeah. But goals are really important. You know, basically what they are is those B targets. You know,
exactly.
So here you are at point A, and where you want to go is point B, and B's are the goals. They are the targets you hit. And the more you're clear on your targets, the more you know if you're off course, so that you can correct and adjust. One of the things that I find interesting about goals, you know, I used to be nothing but a goal setter and a goal achiever, and that's all I did, and that's all I thought about when I was first introduced to this thing called, you know, professional sales, and then prior to being introduced to network marketing, I was taught a lot by a lot of people about the importance of having goals, and I would like to just expand, if I could, Jeff, beyond just goals, because I'm not trying to minimize the importance of goals. They're very important, but what I've learned over the last 5 years is that there's something beyond that that is more important, that is greater, and when people connect with that, can empower them to push through all the pain necessary to get to the pleasure of what it is they want to experience in life. And it's more than just goals. Goals usually, when people establish them, are tangible things that money can buy. Like new houses, new cars, vacations, clothing, things of this nature. These are all good things. We all should have them, okay? That's not my point. My point is that those things only give so much of a personal fulfillment or the satisfaction necessary to really feel good about who you are. And when I learned a number of years ago from some people that I truly respect, that taught me about not looking at goals as the answer in life, but to look at them as part of the means towards a higher answer. In other words, a purpose in life. And when I started getting connected to that, as far as trying to discover what my purpose was and sharing that with other people.
I've always said that it's like a success is progressive realization of a worthy ideal.
You bet.
And I've always said you should have your goals, and it's not the goals, it's what you become in the pursuit of those goals.
It's being, Jeff. It's absolutely being. That's why they call it. Yes, and in emotion, you got it. But that's why they call us human beings. They don't call us human doings, or they don't call us human havings. They call us human beings because life's about being. And then, you know, when we were kids, we got in touch with a part of us that we felt was really important. We felt that was kind of unique and something that we wanted to be. And then we kind of lose sight of that because of the way we've been programmed to think by society, you know, just kind of like to compete instead of create. Yes, you know, just go out there and compete against everybody else, and these are the labels that society puts on us to be, that we can consider ourselves to be successful. But when people are able to just look at it beyond just those targets. And again, it's good to have all of that stuff, and it's good to do all of that stuff, and that's not my point. My point is that if you really would like to empower yourself, if you'd like to get to the point where you can unleash within you what only a small percentage of the people on this planet ever experience, ever unleash, this thing called passion, then you must look beyond the tangible things that most people look beyond, or look at, and look into why are you really here? What is your purpose for being here? I mean, they say that everybody that's on this planet was put here for a very specific reason, and it's not to go through the exercise of the one that dies with the most toy wins. You know, it's all about really getting in touch with what is ultimately important to us as a person. Soul searching, finding those unique desires, wants, and abilities, and getting in touch as to what mark do I want to leave? What legacy do I want to leave as I go through this thing called life? Because everybody's purpose is special. Everybody is special and has a unique way of living their purpose, being their purpose, fulfilling their purpose. And everybody's purpose in some shape or form has to do with helping others. And so if we're clear as to what our purpose is, and that purpose is based on our unique abilities and desires and wants, then we can choose more educated choices as far as the vehicles that we use to express ourselves and live our purpose. And when people are able to choose vehicles that are in alignment with their purpose, then they are able to unleash, not search for this thing called commitment, but unleash it. Not search for this thing called passion, but unleash it. And then they have this unshakable faith, and nothing in the world stops them from being, doing, and having everything that they want to do, or be, or have. And that's where purpose comes into play.
That's great.
Yeah, it's powerful, powerful stuff. In my book, I share 3 questions that was shared with me when I first learned about this thing called purpose. And there are 3 questions that you just keep asking yourself, and you just write down the answers to it over and over and over again, and it just brings more and more clarity. And then sooner or later, you'll get to a point where just by keeping the exercise consciously in the forefront of your mind and just reviewing the answers to these 3 questions, you get to the point where you're able to define what that purpose is, like write it out, and then actually put the words that define what it is you want to be. And a purpose isn't something you strive for, like a goal. It isn't like a target that you try to hit. A purpose is something that once you recognize what it is, you be that person every single day. When I was told how to get in touch with my purpose, Jeff, I was given like 3 questions to keep asking myself. And in the process of just answering those questions, things would begin to become self-evident. I'd be able to kind of get in touch, kind of discover what's ultimately important to me. And like the first question is that if I didn't have to work for a living, like, what would I just love to do? If, like, work wasn't an issue, if I didn't have to do that, what would I love to do? And getting in touch with what you would just love to do, regardless of just what you would have to do in order to make money. And another question is that if you were given, like, $1 million tax-free, I mean, $1 million tax-free.
It's got to be tax-free now.
Got to be tax-free now. Yeah, but it's not worth much if it isn't. But if you were given just $1 million tax-free, what would you do with it? Now, you cannot come into the, think about like paying bills or anything like that. It's just like $1 million tax-free. What would you do with that money? Just discretionary income. What would you do with it? And then the third question is that if you found out that you only had like 6 months to live, I mean, no debilitating disease where you were laid up, but you had 6 months, healthy 6 months. I mean, what would you begin to do right now? I mean, would you change? Would you make any shifts at all into what you're doing? Big time, yeah. If you only had 6 months and you were still healthy to the point where you had energy, what would you do to make a difference?
So I guess my purpose is play golf.
Yeah, could very well be. And see, it could be part of a purpose. And see, so what I was taught was to just list anything at all that just popped into my mind, not to prejudge anything, just to list them all.
Get all the pieces of the puzzle on the table.
All the pieces, and then go back over them, and then just like ask myself about one of those answers, like what's important about me doing that, or having that, or being that, and try to get, again, just chunking it down until you get to what they call the essence of what you feel is really important to you. Not important to anybody else, just you. And then once you kind of get in touch with that essence, and by the way, it does take time for most people. It took me like about 2 months from the time I was introduced to the questions, and then keeping those answers and writing more answers down till I finally evolved to the point where I was ready to write out and define my purpose. But when I did, I was on an airplane, Jeff, going from San Diego to Minneapolis to do a 2-day workshop, and I had accumulated all these answers. I had scratched out the ones that didn't have importance. I had identified the ones that did have importance, and I weighed them. You know, and so I had it all of a sudden. It's just like boom. It was just like now I was ready to try to define it. And I worked, Jeff, for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, pushing around at 24 words. And I never worked on what appeared to be so little.
Sharpening your axe.
You bet. Just good analogy. And by the time I got
done. Did I say
done,
Mark Twain or did I say Ben?
You said Mark Twain.
Oh.
Who was it? Ben Franklin?
Ben Franklin.
Yeah.
I need to go sharpen my accent.
Well, Mark said thank you, by the way. That's and so anyhow, I got to the point where I was ready to find it out. And after working on it for like an hour and a half, I got so much clarity. It was like a light turned on within me. And so I wanted to run up to the cockpit, grab the PA system from the pilot, and just like announce to everybody on the plane that I discovered my purpose, why I'm really here. And I don't want to sound like some kind of San Diego, California woo-woo guy, but it did bring a lot of clarity to my life, total clarity. Because what I used to do before, Jeff, and I think a lot of people experience this, is that everything that I did before was connected with getting money. Okay, so here I was, I had these B's, these targets that I wanted to establish or wanted to hit, and here I was A, and in my pursuit of going towards B, because all I was focusing on was goals, the tangible things that money could buy, I get a lot of these C's coming in, you know, that had like money opportunities connected to them.
Filter them out.
You bet, and I would end up finding myself going many times in those directions to kind of look at them, and later discover that it just wasn't what I wanted to do, but I'd waste time. I waste sometimes a lot of money in the process of doing that. And now in the process of being clear as far as the purpose, it's like purpose isn't the B. There's targets involved with that, but the purpose is something that I want to be along the idea of hitting the targets. And because I'm so clear of what I want to be, I don't have to go looking at the C's. The C's still come in. In fact, when people are on purpose, you get more C's than you ever get when you're not on purpose.
You never lack for opportunity.
Never lack for opportunity.
I think most people don't stay on an opportunity long enough. And I think what you're saying is when you can align your opportunity or what you're doing with your purpose, then you're going to insulate yourself more that you will stay on that mission. And now that becomes your goal, long as it becomes successful. Because real honestly, John, one of the reasons I've always, I just believe goal setting and having your purpose, and I believe having those in line are very important, especially in the business of network marketing. Is it's so important to have your understanding what your purpose is in this business, but also your goals in line with it, because this business, by the nature of it, the price of entry is so inexpensive. It's too easy to leave, and it's not like a franchise where you invest $500,000, to get a franchise. In this business, you can get in for hardly nothing, and almost the only commitment you have is your commitment to yourself.
Right.
Exactly. I had a friend say to me one time, and I'll never forget these words. He says, "Jeff, why don't you just finish something for once?"
Wow.
I went, whoa, that hurt.
How long ago was that?
It was some years ago, but finish. And I thought, how many things I had not finished? And I think, especially in this business where it's so easy to get in, it's so easy to get out, goals become so important for us to know why we're in this business. And I think it gets back to purpose.
It's really interesting you said that, because my dad said to me many times, or once, that really made an impression on me. I think I was about 18 or 19 years old. He says, "Son," he says, "I've never met anyone that could do so many things so well. All you could do is find one that you just do the best that you can."
Right. Become a master of one, not a jack of all trades. And so in taking that purpose, how do you evolve towards your goals now?
Well, see, then the goals are like stepping stones towards just being your purpose. And when you're clear as to what your purpose is, you don't go out looking at the C's. The C's, you just pull them in when they come into your life, and you just analyze them. You just look at them, you just ask yourself a fundamental question. Is this something in alignment with what I want to be? And if it isn't, you're just able to release it. Just like a bird out of the hand, no regrets, no remorse, just release it. No matter how much money is connected with it. But if it's something that is in alignment with what you want to be, you just embrace it and you just move towards it, and everything shows up just in the nick of time. That's the power of being on purpose, because you unleash commitment, you unleash unshakable faith.
It's once you have those beliefs in the industry and what it's going to do within the industry, that becomes part of your purpose, and now you can start going towards your goals. And we don't have enough time here, John, to go into goal setting. We all know they need to be written, they need to be clear, concise. You need to read them every day. They need to have a date associated with it. But like I say, people need to just understand the value and importance of doing their goals and setting their goals. And we won't go into that today.
Having targets.
And what you're saying is make sure those goals are in line with your purpose. And your belief in this industry.
And see, I love teaching purpose for one main reason. When people discover what their purpose is, and then they take a look at their network marketing business, they'll see that it's perfectly in alignment with what they want to be, which unleashes now commitment and passion in their vehicle.
Don't you believe that most of the people that you've seen are successful in network marketing is because they have a passion or a purpose?
Oh, you bet.
More than anything else?
And it's that passion that just attracts to them all the resources, human and natural, to accomplish what it is they want to accomplish.
See, that's why I've enjoyed the business. Because before, you get in Texas Instruments and I get real passionate and purpose, people start looking at Jeff like, what's he been smoking?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, but you get over here and all of a sudden you're in a business of people relationship and marketing.
In fact, if I can say one thing, like in doing many of the workshops, and so many of your people are involved in the workshops that we're conducting right now throughout the country, I use you as an example. You know, because when I talk about goals and I talk about purpose, I talk about this doing, having, being, and contributing. And I said, you know, so many people look at Jeff Olson, and I said, as somebody that, God, look at what he's doing and look at what he has. And I said, they don't understand yet that Jeff is being what it is he wants to be, what he wants to be. And that's what's really valuable. And they get it. They get it.
You know, when you fall in love with what you're doing, what's the old saying? You never work a day in your life.
You bet.
So that's where purpose, take your purpose, again, back to you believe in the industry, believe in your company, get your purpose in line with that, establish your goals, what you're looking for from this business, put the constraint, you know, put the parameters around so you know where you're going, and then you're ready to start applying what? The activities.
You got it. People that are on purpose don't do things because of money. They do things they love to do, and it causes all the money they need.
Right. You know, John, I couldn't agree more with what we're talking about. There's a gentleman I like to read a lot about, and that's Jim Rohn. He's a great philosopher.
Yeah, one of my mentors.
I think he's a lot of people's. And he talks about it in people's lives, your philosophies are the most important thing, purpose. Okay? And then he says that will create your attitude. Then your attitude will create your actions, which will create your results, which will create your lifestyle.
Right.
And up to this point in time, I think when talking about network marketing and talking about goals and purpose, we're talking about, you know, adjusting those philosophies and adjusting those attitudes. But now what I want to do is get into actions. But before we get into it, I just can't emphasize enough. I believe if you don't have those other things in place, that the actions don't mean anything, because you've got to have that purpose to get there. So let's get into the meat of the business, and we've got a new person. They're a brand new person. They've never been in the industry. They're just getting started.
Love them.
That's what it's all about, right? I was one. You were one. We all were one at one time, and it's a matter of what we do after that. You know, most people don't realize. They look at people and they think, oh, they're successful. They don't realize there was a time when we had no recruits, and you had never made $1 in the business, and you were confused. But it's what you did with that makes a difference, okay? And so what I'd like to do is let's help these people through it. So we got some new people, how they get started, how to get in that prospecting, how they move down the road.
Okay. Jeff, at the risk of sounding simple, okay, I've never met anyone highly successful in this business that did not work off of a tangible prospect list. I mean, that's the first ingredient that someone needs. It's a list of people that they know, no matter where they may be in the world. Right, to make that list as long as possible, get it in writing, get the names, get the phone numbers, get the addresses, make the list long. Then prioritize the list. Right? Then learn, if you're not comfortable, learn how to pick up that phone and contact these people to get together with them.
The 2,000-pound phone.
You bet. The 250 or 2,000 pound or 2 million pound. You bet. But to learn how to pick up that phone. And if people aren't comfortable in how to do that, then sit down with the person that brought them into the business and do some role playing on some phone invitations. You bet. Get comfortable. Just absolutely get comfortable with how to use the phone to entice people, to interest people, to get people curious as to what it is you're doing so they take a look at it. You know, I had a mentor of mine many years ago that told me that the speed in which we manifest the things that we want in life is directly proportionate to the speed in which we become comfortable with those things.
Right.
So if do the thing and you'll get the power. Do the thing and you get the power. So get comfortable with it by doing it. And if it takes role playing, do it. Now, if you're contacting people that are highly successful, then, you know, I always believe in sponsoring up, right? Then get some upline support and like a conference call or something like that in order to open up that prospect's mind.
And third parties using more powerful.
Third party is really powerful stuff. But, you know, prospecting is really simple. A lot of people try to complicate it, but it's very simple, Jeff. In fact, it's really interesting. One of the things that we do at some of our seminars and workshops is that we ask the students to identify the qualities that they really respect and admire the most in the people that are highly successful in this business, especially the master prospectors of network marketing. And so we list all these wonderful qualities. In fact, they identify them. They put them all on the board and stuff like that. Then we go back through them and I ask them, okay, put an A or an S next to each quality. A stands for if it's a result of their attitude, and an S as a result of a skill that they learned and they developed, okay? Invariably, 80 to 90% of the qualities listed deal around the master prospector's attitude.
I was in your seminar in Dallas when we did that, and I was amazed it was not 80%, it was 90% attitudes that they admired in people, not the skills they had.
Right, and there's so many people out there looking for the magical way of doing it as opposed to instilling a belief in themselves, in their company and their products, and in their industry, and in their relationship with other people to get the attitude necessary to really pick up the phone and approach people.
We've got that person, he's ready, he's got that list, and like you say, pour the names out. I've always said, they say you know 200 plus names by the age of 21, but you can only write down 30. what you need to do is just write down those 30
Sure.
so that the subconscious brain, most powerful computer there is, will unleash itself and find the other ones for you.
See, the most common mistake that most new people will make is that they'll get excited, they'll think of maybe 3 or 5 people that they know, and instead of writing down a lot of names, they'll pick up the phone and contact one of those 3 or 5 people that are bouncing around in their head. Now, chances are maybe that person is not ready to hear what it is they want to share with them. And so now already 1 out of 3 people is not interested.
That's a very good point. I see this, you know, you're excited and you expect everybody else to be in the same alignment of your life, and they could have other things going on. And so part of prospecting, besides having those people, is understanding it is a process, not an event, that it's going to be, I call it the drip theory, dripping information on them so that they're at that point. If somebody come to me with this industry, although I've been watching it and I was excited about it, if they'd come to me a year before I saw the industry, I went to got in because I had other things going on. They hit me at the right time. And so what you have to do is continually make that information and that opportunity available to them.
See, some of the people's best business builders come from people that they actually had a process of introducing them to the process.
Most of my people I didn't know until after I got in. It was people I bumped into my daily activity. It wasn't the people I knew for 20 years.
Yeah. In fact, if we had a magical genie that could zap a new person watching this video or watching this show right now 3 years into the future and allow them to hover over this highly successful network that they built, they'd really come to the realization that the most successful people that they're going to have in their network 3 years from now are people they haven't even met yet.
They don't even know.
Exactly. That's exciting stuff. So prospecting is a key ingredient. You know, getting organized, being prepared, knowing how to pick up that phone and use it, and getting your upline help, and not limiting your thinking to just your local area, but to think. See, I believe in thinking globally but acting locally. I think that's the way people should build their business: is to think globally but act locally. What can you do to act locally to build a global business?
It's funny you say that. I've always said you should treat your next door neighbor as somebody who lives 2,000 miles away from you the same way. Use the same tools, the same approaches, the same technology, whether it's the phone or everything, and your same upline support. Because, see, the average person coming to this industry, he's never been exposed to something where you can immediately go internationally without incurring the liabilities and expenses.
Sure.
And so, I guess we should say we need to think not just locally, we need to think of everybody else out there. And the other thing I've always believed is, it's not like what we've been saying, it's not who you know, it's who you know who they know.
Exactly.
So get that list not only expanding in your memory jogger, but start using other people's memory joggers.
Very good, absolutely. So if anything in the prospecting thing, if we can get people to, first of all, understand the basics of making a list and thinking globally, and then doing everything you can to act locally, and then soliciting all the support that you need if you need that credibility support to get it out there to your circle of influence.
Do you like to grade the list, or do you like to just look at
I love to prioritize a list.
Okay.
And like the high priority, the first people that I love to contact and encourage the students to contact first is people that have bubbly personalities, regardless of their history, just people that have bubbly personalities, because we're in the people business. And if you can find people that really like people, that's like a major ingredient as far as success, a great quality. So you get somebody that has good, strong people skills and likes people, they get excited about what it is you're doing. Inherent within them, they have that kind of personality where they're going to tell the world. And that's who you want to sponsor. You don't want to sponsor undercover agents in this business. They don't work. You want people that want to share, want to get the message out there. And then the second priority is like positive people. I teach people how to identify the positive people on your list and everybody else is negative, and how to stay away from the negative people until you've got your belief system intact.
Until your belief system is intact.
You know? And then the third thing is successful people. Now, there's so many people out there that just don't think about sponsoring up. They just don't think about it. They know successful people. No, it's not comfortable, and they prejudge that the successful people that they know are already too busy or already making the kind of money that they want to make, and it's a wrong prejudgment. Successful people, Jeff, as you know, are like the first ones to recognize a good opportunity, and if they like something, they naturally move towards it, and because they've earned the right and the respect of strong circles of influence, people move with them, so you have a chance at duplicating yourself quicker. So if you know successful people, but you're not comfortable with it, go up again, go upline, get the support of successful people to help communicate that message to your successful prospects.
Exactly. And then some will, some won't.
So what? Some are waiting.
Some are waiting.
Yeah, that's a new one.
For us, next. You know, John, we're talking a lot about different issues. Prospecting is a major one. You know, if anything, what a person needs to understand is get started, and the process will take care of itself. In prospecting, though, and we don't have enough time to get into it, and we're restricted with time here, but I would like to talk about the next step. Something that I think it separates a lot of the people who get in this industry. They're excited, they have their purpose, they have their goals, they have their prospect list, they have the right center of influence, And we don't have a lot of time to talk about it, but it's inviting. How to invite somebody to go see the presentation. And we'll get into the presentation after that. So can you just shed a little bit of light on inviting?
Sure.
I know you go through it a lot in your book.
Yeah,
right? And we
I talk about some ingredients that people can incorporate into their phone skills. One being first thing I believe is that if you pick up the phone, it's for inviting, not for giving presentations, unless you can't physically meet with that person. Then you got to do everything you can over the phone to transfer your enthusiasm. But if you can meet with someone, use the phone strictly for inviting and scheduling appointments. And one of the things I like to teach people is to ask, is this a good time to chat? I'm really excited about something.
Is this a good time?
Yeah, I mean, take about 2 or 3 minutes. Is this a good time, or are you in the middle of doing something else? By asking that question, you are guaranteeing the listening ear of your prospect, number one. Okay, and it extends a good courtesy too, as well. And if it's not a good time, just ask them when it is and get back to them.
And I think everybody's comfortable in asking that question.
Sure, I think so. And then the next thing you have to understand, the next thing is that of transferring your enthusiasm. The phone does not allow people to see your physiology or look into your eyes, which were referred to as the windows of the soul. You can only hear a person's tonality of their voice. And so they have to get it over the phone that you're very enthusiastic, that you're really
buy your music, not your words.
You bet. People get caught up in other people's belief system. They believe you believe, they will move towards that. They'll be attracted towards it. And the key to the word enthusiasm lies, as we know, in the last 4 letters, IASM, which stands for I am, so myself.
Right. One of the most successful telemarketing companies, we're not telemarketing, but people who use phones, what they've preached, and the best consultants, is they put a smile in front of the person, and they say, now on a mirror or on a board, they say smile the whole time you're on the phone. It'd be amazing. If you smile, you can't even think negative.
Yes.
I had somebody tell me one time, Jeff, just look straight up and smile and try and think a negative thought. You try it.
Yeah, it's impossible.
You can't do it.
It's
the same thing. Get on that phone, I guess what you're trying to say is have that smile attitude.
And I'm a firm believer in creating an environment, a workstation with your phone that you feel good about going into.
Very important.
Very important. Like you have privacy, that you feel good about the environment. You got the tools in there. You got the furniture. You feel good about it, so that you're comfortable. And a mirror. Some of the best master prospectors I've ever studied, use mirrors. They use inspirational quotes on the walls. And they do everything they can to create an environment that they really feel good about. It makes them, it brings out the best in them. Right. And another ingredient that I highly suggest people incorporate in their phone skills is extending compliments to the prospect that you've called. Obviously, sincere compliments, not things you just manifest out of the blue. Right. But every time you pick up the phone, you should have maybe 1 or more qualities about that person that you've identified, and you jot them down on a notepad.
So you got their name, you put down some things about them.
Things about them that you think are very, and that are great qualities.
You call up enthusiastically, you say, is this a good time to chat? And now you transition towards
transfer your enthusiasm and then extend compliments, let them know why you wanted to contact them and so forth. And then once you've extended the compliments and you kind of tell them a little bit about what it is you would like to chat with them about.
You're maybe 30 to 40 seconds into the call?
Yeah, you're only about 30 to 40 seconds. Okay. Absolutely right. Okay. Then you want to move into now like what I call as a disclaimer. Okay, offering a disclaimer. In other words, to put it out there to the fact that, hey, there's no obligation here. I just want you to take a look at something. See, many people will choose not to set an appointment with you if they feel they're going to be obligated when they meet with you. Right. So if you can take away that little obligation by saying, Jeff, I'm not sure this is something that's right for you or something that you really want to do, but if you're willing to just sit down for about 20 to 30 minutes and take a look at this thing, you might see something in it like I do. You know? And I really value your opinion. I just want you to kind of give me an idea what it is you think. Exactly. So by just giving that little disclaimer, Jeff doesn't feel obligated, and he'll move towards the appointment more openly. And then the last ingredient that I always teach, and this is so important. Yes?
Before you go into that, in your book, when I was reading, it says, if somebody just says flat no, respect the no and move on.
Move on, so I can respect that. I appreciate your time and so forth.
Exactly.
Anybody popping in your head right now that you can think of that might be looking for an opportunity.
And understand you're going to have more no's than yeses. And that's, it's not just in this industry, it's in everything else in life. Right?
Exactly. Okay. You bet. That's part of it. Every time you get a no, you're closer to a yes. If you want to look at it that way, it's a matter of perception. Right. And then the last thing that I think is really important, and this is where most people, I think, Jeff, drop the ball when it comes to their phone, is that they don't have a clear objective in mind. Every time you pick up the phone, I highly suggest you know exactly what do I want to accomplish with this phone call. A specific, clear objective.
You write that down.
And you jot that objective down. And then you have a method, a process on how to move into meeting that objective. So like with scheduling an appointment, then you have kind of like choices of good days and times that you believe is good for your prospect to get together with you. And you offer those choices.
Do you offer it in the form of an option?
An option. I highly recommend it as opposed to when can we get together?
Right.
It's like
never.
Yeah, never. As opposed to, I'm buying lunch this week, Jeff. Which day is best for you, Tuesday or Thursday?
That's an option.
You bet, that's an
Right.
option. Okay. So those phone skills can really make a difference. And again, if you empower your environment, you know, if you're going to work out of your home, great. That's what how most people start. That's healthy. It's wonderful. But at least create a workstation where you can be uninterrupted, where you can get the phone that you like using,
Right.
get the desk that you feel good at sitting at, and a chair that's comfortable to you,
Right.
and create an environment with the inspirational quotes, maybe your treasure map, things that you're trying
Right.
to achieve, and so forth.
Your purpose.
Make it something you feel
Right.
good about going into. And then I also believe in, and this is one of the things that I'm sharing in my new book that I've really recognized is that many of them were not all that comfortable at first with the phone.
Right.
Okay, what they did is like what I had to do myself is that they put themselves in an environment where they isolated themselves, and they made sure that they put time frames on themselves, like maybe 1 hour or 2 hours. They're going to just
Right.
do the phone, work the phone, work the phone, so that they get all the other stuff out of their head, clear their head, and they get into this thing called the flow. Okay? And once you get in the flow and they got the rhythm, it's just wonderful. So the least interruptions that you have, the more you get in the flow. So if you can just isolate yourself, you'll find yourself getting into the flow, and then you'll find yourself becoming more effective using the phone, and you'll absolutely love to pick it up. It won't weigh 250
What a
million
lot of people
pounds.
do is they always put all their other priorities before that.
Yeah.
It's like you got all these other things to do, and they never get to that.
And got the call waiting and all that other stuff.
Just say,
and calls
these
that come.
2 hours is when I'm doing it.
This is it. I'm going to do nothing but my follow-up, and my incoming calls will be taken care of by the answer machine and
Right.
the voicemail or whatever. I'm getting into the flow, being with the people that you're talking to instead of having to be interrupted all the time because calls are coming in.
Right. What about three ways?
Three ways are very effective. People that aren't using them are really missing the boat.
It's third party.
Oh, it's third-party stuff.
It can go anywhere.
Sure, and it's proven that when you contact somebody that you know, they're going to make a judgment on the product and the opportunity based on their judgment of you.
Right.
So the more you can get them out of that judgment and into just looking at the
Instead of
opportunity.
looking at John or Jeff for the opportunity to get them past that. and see it.
You bet, and so
Right.
third party really helps do that.
I've always said it, third party is always more powerful than
Yes,
first party.
so I totally agree.
That's great. Well, you know, we could talk about inviting forever. It's something we all have to do. Quite honestly, I found just the more, if you have, again, back to where we started, belief in your industry, belief in the company, belief in your purpose and your goals are aligned with that, then automatically your list will get bigger because you'll be more excited. If you have something you really want to tell a lot of people versus something you don't want to, and then from there, it'll just be, again, your music in inviting
I love
anything.
that. Music
Whether
and
it's
dancing. You
Music
bet.
and dancing.
Dancing
okay.
with the people. You bet, that's great.
I mean, and you got all the techniques here, but if somebody got into your book here and took all these techniques you got, and there's a ton of them here, it doesn't mean anything, and they still don't have the belief and don't have the music.
Right.
Okay. So now we've got that new person. He's gotten started. He understands the more he does it, the better he's going to get. He's going to set the environment for inviting people, and he understands his prospect list is growing, and he believes in where he's at and where he's coming from and where we're going. Now it's coming down. He's going to show the opportunity.
Right.
And I'm sure third party is part of this, but let's get down into presenting the opportunity and the human psychic of who that person is you're talking to and where you're at.
Okay, super. One of my most favorite things, because if you look up the word presentation in the dictionary, it's defined by Webster as a performance. It means to offer and introduce to another a gift.
A gift.
And that's what you got. You got a great
In
gift.
China, they say if you have something of value, I don't say this right, but if you have something of value, it's your obligation.
You're right. You're obligated
it on.
to perpetuate it many times over.
Right.
That's because they believe in the law of the universe. What goes around comes around.
Right.
Okay, and this is the way of constantly
Golden
guaranteeing.
rule.
You bet. Powerful.
Right.
So when it comes to the presentation, offering your gift, it makes sense that you kind of find out what it is they want, so you can package it.
Right.
And most people just come off offering it without thinking about what it is the person
And
wants.
say it from
first.
their terms versus from
Yeah.
the person you're talking
It's like
to's terms.
telling somebody what it is you want to hear as opposed to finding out what it is they want to hear and then telling them that.
Become a better listener.
You bet, a much better listener. So one of the things that I highly suggest when it comes to the presentation is, first of all, to get into rapport with your prospect, to grab their attention by getting in rapport. Learn some of the skills that are out there. Like, there's a book that's been around, Jeff, and I know you've read it. So many people have read it, but they kind of like put it aside. It's like Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Powerful book. I mean, just the title itself of that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, that's powerful. And that's the kind of business that we're in, is making friends. You know,
Right.
if you know how to make friends, you don't have to look for another prospect. Okay? You just never have to look.
That's right.
And that's the whole art of that thing, is just making friends first. So I really try to teach people the importance of making friends first, getting into rapport before you offer your gift, learning what it is they want. And it's this whole rapport thing. It's like, if you're in rapport with someone, they open up to you, they trust you, and they listen now very carefully to what it is you are saying.
People don't care what know until they know
how much you care. Exactly.
Right.
So in addition to Dale Carnegie's book and the simple things, in fact, that's one of those kind of books that I recommend people have on their nightstand or on their cocktail table, and they pick up 4 times a week, read 15, 20 minutes out, just wonderful pearls of wisdoms in that thing. And then there's another science out there, I think you're familiar with it too, it's called NLP, which stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. It's the art and science of communication, and even though it's a very broad science, and I don't recommend people approach it in its broad sense, but there is
very
one
detailed.
area, very detailed. I've seen people get stuck in it and become accumulators of the information and not really use it because they just kept studying and studying and studying and never use it because there's so much to it. But there's one area of it, Jeff, called the rapport building area, where you can really focus on learning how to identify people and where they like to communicate from. Like there's visual people and there's auditory people and there's kinesthetic people. And when you're able to identify the person that you're chatting with and then put yourself on their particular plane of communication, you get into this thing called rapport. Mirroring, matching. Like I chatted with you earlier, I said you found myself really talking fast because I
can't imagine you that.
Exactly. It's not necessarily my style, but to match and mirror and model you, I'd put everybody to sleep if I didn't do that because you're so excited and well, not too fast, but you understand my point, is that we got into a synergy, and that we were able to just like feed off of each other, but not because one's fast and one's slow, but because we're both in the same window. And that's what I try to suggest that people do. Before you kind of offer what it is you have, get in rapport first. Then, once you're in rapport, then you put on your big ears and you go into like discovering everything you possibly can about them, their unique desires, wants, and abilities, and so forth. Now, if you're not in rapport and you start asking personal questions, people move away. But if you're in rapport and you start asking questions, trying to find out what it is they want, they open up to you. And they give you just incredible information on how you can better serve them, how you can better package the gift that you have for them. So you discover interest. And one of the favorite things that I used to do, Jeff, that really worked well for me is that once I was in rapport, is that I'd plant the seed that I'm in business. I love being in business. This thing called network marketing is relatively new to me, but I just am so fascinated by it, so excited about the possibilities. Tell me, you ever been in business for yourself before? And I try to learn about what it is they either have experienced or perceive in their mind about what it's like being in business. And I get all the positives and I get all the negatives. And guess what? Then when I package my gift and present it, I'm feeding on the positives and I'm minimizing the negatives.
When I was reading your book, there was a great statement that, and we're going to talk about objections later on, but it fits right here. A great statement you had when you're talking about network marketing. Somebody says something negative, and it could, it's just like franchising and department stores went through that phase too. And that's why there's an opportunity. People sometimes look at an objection the wrong way. I look at it as an opportunity, but if somebody says something, well, it's just network marketing, or they say something negative about it, I love your comeback because it's so pure and so straightforward. Go, well, if you knew, how's it basically go? If you knew what I knew about network marketing,
knew what I know,
you would
about
be involved.
You bet, exactly. And most people, if not everyone, would be, because they just don't know. And so it's a matter of just kind of like educating them.
So how does this new person is seeing this information, they're excited, how are they going to get that person to see this information? We've talked about using their third party in 3 ways, but we're now down to presenting the opportunity.
Now, well, what I really believe in is trying to uncover as much as you possibly can about what's going on in your prospect's mind before you get into the meat of your presentation. That's why that after you're in rapport, discovering interest is so important. You can kind of ask them, you ever been associated with network marketing or heard about it, and find out, are they thinking positive? Are they thinking negative? Address that now. I mean, it's so valuable to get that within the first 15 to 20 minutes of your presentation as opposed to waiting at the end and getting it in the form of an objection. So now you can kind of like surface it, you can kind of like chat about it, you can put it to rest, and then you can get into the meat of what it is you're talking about. So if people need more information, I mean, I'm a firm believer, Jeff, I think if somebody gets enough education about something, they'll sell themselves on it if they really see the value there.
You don't sell people, you give them the information they need to make a good decision.
Exactly. And so I believe in using a lot of tools, and then there's brochures out there, again, at the risk of videos out there, audios out there, and I've listened to a couple of things that you've put together. I mean, exceptional stuff, and my book, The Greatest Opportunity in the History of the World, is all about educating someone about the industry.
Third-party validation.
Third-party validation is more powerful than trying to sell them on a company as opposed to educating them about an industry first. Because if they
and a new guy can do that. He can do that. A new person in his first 90 days can do that easier than he can.
Easier.
I've always said that if your mouth is moving, and your finger's not pointing, then you're out of business. Because all of a sudden it's becoming your opinion versus third-party validation.
Exactly. And when it comes to offering your gift, when you really get into now the presentation
I like how you said
part,
that, offer your gift.
Offering your gift, that's what you're doing. Package it now based on what they need. So if you learn what they like, what they are concerned about, you can package your gift based on those likes and feed on them. You can minimize the dislikes and so forth.
I had a nurse I bumped into. This almost fits everything. I had a nurse that I didn't know. I bumped into at a restaurant. Okay, so that fits into you're going to meet all your people outside. It turned out to be one of my biggest income earners. And her hot button was her 2 children that she couldn't spend time with.
Right.
So mirror what, and I said, well, I got an industry that's very flexible. You know, and so it is that mirroring process.
See, and most people don't take the time, they don't invest the time to really get to know the person that they're chatting with. Like they'll come out of a meeting, they're really excited, and rightfully so. You know, they'll jump on an elevator, there's a total stranger to say, hi, my name's John, you want to become a distributor? You know, it's like, you know, where's the friendshipping? You know, where's the friendshipping, where's the friendshipping? And then you really get to learn about the person that you're chatting with, and then get as much as you can and then package your gift. And then when it comes to presenting your gift, I'm a firm believer, Jeff, in doing everything you possibly can to make that duplicatable, so that the person that you're presenting your gift to or offering your gift to can see themselves doing the same thing to others.
Again, that's third party.
Yes, and that's where you can use also like presentation books that are nice 3-ring binders that are composite of like company literature that you clip out, put into nice plastic sheet protectors. Graphic illustrations that you create that show the difference between conventional distributions. Exactly, preparing it. Personal pictures of you with the principles of the company. And they also need to get pictures of them with their most successful upline. I believe in edifying your upline as much as you edify the principles of a company. Do everything you possibly can to show your prospect that you've got your finger on the pulse of what's going on. And it's just real powerful stuff that way, very powerful, because a picture's worth 1,000 words. But how many times do we try to teach somebody, or how many times do we use 1,000 words when we could have used a picture? And is it easier to teach somebody how to repeat 1,000 words or teach them how to use a picture to communicate?
Even if you did a good job, even if you did a good job, and we're talking about, what is this business of duplication? And so it means it's the new person duplicating in the first 90 days. And even if you did a good job, if you're a student and one of these people could remember everything and you had the ability to talk very well and express yourself, is that duplicatable? And the problem is now I'm talking to you and you're saying to yourself, if I'm doing all those things, well, that's great, but I don't have the time to learn what they've learned, and I don't have the time to do what this person is doing, versus they say, well, I can take this third-party validation information and pass it on. Pass, as you say, the gift on.
Exactly. And most people will come up at the end of your presentation with an objection because they couldn't see themselves doing to others what you just did to them. So many times we create our own objections.
Oh, so true.
You know, so if you keep it really simple, what I like to say, K-I-S and-D, we've all heard of K-I-S-S, keep it simple and smile, or K-I-S, we don't like to call people stupid, so K-I-S and-D is keep it simple and duplicatable. Everything you do, make sure that you're doing it in a way that the person can see themselves doing the same thing. Now, when we're new at this business, you're just starting out, it's no problem. We don't know that much. We keep it pretty simple. But now we're in the business 6 months. We're in the business a year. We start accumulating all this information. We sit down with the prospect. We think we've got to get them caught up with us in 1 hour. And all we do is just bombard them with more information than what it is they need to make an educated decision.
And it is a sorting process.
Yes, very much
so. Get the information out there, working for you, duplicating, make sure that it can expand miles.
Yes.
That it can, so that's third party, it's 3-way, that's tools, so it can work 1,000 miles away. That it's sort, and recognize, you know, back to the opportunity again, network marketing, you know, we are in incredible times where there's more talented people than ever in the history of this industry available.
You bet.
And you want to get that gift being spread as fast as possible, as far as possible.
Oh, there's people out there that are counting on you to get it to them.
That's right.
You know, and
you could save them with this.
Exactly. So one of the things that I also try to stress to new people is to get out of the convincing business and into the sorting business. Instead of trying to convince people that what you got has value, share it, share it, share it. You're the messenger, right? Your job is to share the message, not to get caught up in the messenger, to share the message. If people are not ready for it, it's got nothing to do with you. They're just not ready for the message. Share it with somebody else. See, because every time you try to convince somebody to buy your message, right, what you're doing is that you're spending time convincing, okay? And that takes energy. It zaps energy from you. It zaps your stamina, okay? And there's people out there that are waiting for the message that are counting on your stamina. I mean, they're counting on your stamina. So every time you try to convince, you're not getting to those people that are saying, hey, how about me over here? I'm ready to hear it.
I'm thankful every day that flight attendant that introduced me to this industry did it to me that day.
Right.
You can imagine, you know, here you go through your whole life, going, like you're saying, adjusting, going through all these things, corporate America, small business America, and that point hit.
Yep.
And what if that
you were
person
ready
had been
for
there
it.
with that gift? Yeah, you know, it would have changed my life entirely.
Mine too.
You know?
Mine too. And it's a matter of time. When one person like 30 days ago was not ready, 30 days later they could be ready.
So you keep dripping.
You just, yeah.
You get a new audio, a new video, a
new
new article,
You bet.
whatever. You keep so now we have that prospect list that you're talking about. It's growing all the time
Always
because you're
growing.
getting people, whether it's off your memory jogger, other people's memory joggers, off trade shows, off of associations you're involved in,
People that you're still meeting every single day.
3-foot rule you bump into. So it's always growing. You present the opportunity. You're being lighthearted about it. You're having a good attitude. You're exposing the opportunity. Some will, some won't. So what?
Some are waiting.
It doesn't mean so much it's next. It means they go back into the process.
Right.
And now we get to the next subject, which is overcoming objections. Now, on one hand, we're sitting here and saying just keep sorting, moving along, but you do need to factor in some overcoming objections. So you can. There's some people that really their objection was just a maybe or a yes in disguise.
Right.
And which I guess the fine line here is to handle those objections, and then at that point in time determine whether to just cut bait and move on,
Right.
or to put them into your process.
Keep them in the process, you bet. So one of the things about objections I think people really get hung up on is that they look at an objection and they kind of take it defensively. Right? They're looking at, you know, I've got to overcome this thing, or I've got to handle this objection. And what I try to teach...
I see them buying to the objection sometimes.
Oh yeah, they even buy into it. You
goes
bet.
back to where we started this whole show. You better believe in your business.
Belief system,
Believe,
yours.
have a purpose.
You bet. So there's a big difference between enthusiasm and belief, okay?
Big
A lot of people out there bouncing around with high enthusiasm, but come down real quick because that's where the belief is to begin with. Masters in this business, they work on their belief, automatically takes
And have a
care
purpose.
of the enthusiasm. You bet.
Exactly.
So when it comes to objections, it's not a matter of trying to overcome them or handle them. It's really a matter of trying to...
the wrong word, overcome.
Look for the question in disguise.
Right.
Every time someone states to you an objection, there's really a question there. And we can either get like real defensive and try to overcome their objection, or we can kind of like take a step back, think, pause, and really listen and say, okay, now what is that person asking me? And then answer their question as opposed to trying to overcome their
An
objection.
objection is a question.
It's nothing more than a question in disguise. Every single objection is a question in disguise. Granted, you're going to get some conditions, and those conditions are definite no's, and you do everything you can to not burn bridges and to leave the door open. But objections are questions in disguise. But most people are so much in a hurry to try to overcome someone's objection, they don't think long enough. They don't pause to give themselves that luxury to pause so that they can think and say, well, now, what is that person really asking me? And then the first words that always come out of your mouth is that you either agree with them or state that you understand, so that you lower their defenses and then come in with your response. And it's proven that your response is more effective if you relate through a personal story or the story of others and how you're basically answering their underlying question. Powerful stuff. And in the workshop, we really go into detail and allow people to play with the process, and it really makes an incredible difference.
Great. In objections, when I was reading the book and using it, and I've used it for years, as you know. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you know this, but I used your book a lot when I was in Germany building my business.
Oh, really?
I had to find English-speaking people. But you need to get it in German.
Well, my black book is.
Okay, very sorry.
New one will be out shortly.
Oh, good. But in there, you talked about some objections, you handled them in the way we've just been describing. And so real briefly, let's just deal with a few of them. You know,
Okay.
You're new again, you're talking to me, and again, I don't want people to misinterpret what we're doing here and thinking we've got to give you all the answers. We're just trying to
Give them an idea how the process
get in the
works.
process, and again, they got to do the thing and they'll have the power. I'm sitting here, and what does every person always say? I'm not a salesperson.
Yeah, I'm not a salesperson.
I'm not in sales. Is this sales, or I don't want to be in sales? Is this door to door?
See, the first thing again, to come out of your mouth, you agree and you understand. So, Jeff, I can understand that. You know, sales is a tough profession. You know, one thing you may find interesting though is that in exploring this and meeting some of the people involved, some of the most successful people in our business come from backgrounds that have nothing to do at all with sales. I mean, they were housewives, they were engineers, they were truck drivers, they were teachers, but they weren't really sales types. They didn't consider themselves sales types.
So my question was?
Your question was, can I sell?
Can I sell?
Uh-huh.
Oh, and so you're answering that by talking about all the people who've never been.
Relating to people that are
Versus being
successfully
negative.
doing,
Yeah.
instead of saying, oh, you can't be trained to be a sales pipe.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, I
Or,
said,
all the money's in sales, you fool.
yeah.
You don't say that.
No, right. You just,
So what I was saying when I was saying, hey, is this sales or is this door-to-door, you're saying, I was really saying, can I sell?
yeah, that's what you're, can I sell this, John? Can I really do this? And of course you can if you understood that you don't have to be a polished salesperson in order to be successful in this business.
Okay.
You just have to have faith and believe in what it is you're sharing with people.
Right.
And then because of that, the skills will develop because
Right.
your belief is strong enough that what you're offering people has value.
Right, your gift.
You bet. Yeah.
Is this one of those pyramid?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm not sure I quite understand what you mean by a pyramid, Jeff. You want to kind of explain that to me?
I don't know either.
Is it?
That's,
Okay.
They never do that.
And there's another thing. See, it's many times we
Is it
try
like
to.
Amway? Or
Oh, is it like Amway?
See, I love Amway,
Uh-huh.
great company, but I mean, is it one of those pyramid schemes? You know,
Oh, one of those pyramid schemes. So, well, if I understand what you're really
it used
asking
to be franchising scheme,
Yeah, now it's
department store
now they
schemes,
call them
and
pyramid
catalog
schemes.
schemes.
Yeah.
And now it's this.
But if I really understand what you're asking me, Jeff, is that you're really concerned is if this thing's legal. Is that basically
my question,
as
yes.
opposed to an illegal scheme?
Now, do you restate the question?
Yes,
What
because
you
what I
think you're
really want is, many times we try to answer something before we really know what somebody's asking.
Okay.
Okay,
Give
so
them that.
to get clarity to it, I would ask you is, so that if I really understand what you're saying, Jeff, is that you're concerned about this being an illegal scheme, right?
Right.
Is that what your concern is? I want to really put that to rest right now and let you know that the company that I'm associated with, and then you show the credentials. I mean, what kind of credibility do you have there? So, and then if
Special
you want to
Olympics.
kind of explain to people and kind of like educate people about a pyramid, of course, and then you've got to be educated yourself. But see, there's nothing wrong with a pyramid, Jeff. If
Right.
I can take a moment right now to just kind of share with some people, it's nothing wrong at all with a pyramid. In fact, if you take a look at pyramids, they're our most enduring structure in the history of man. And not only is network marketing structured like a pyramid, so is corporate America, so is our government, so is our schools, so is our churches. Any organization that its purpose is to distribute products or services or information is structured in the form of a pyramid. Where the illegality comes into play is that if people, like in network marketing, are compensated for the recruitment of the player, not for the distribution of the products or the services,
Right.
okay? And so that's where it comes into play. Like if it costs $50 to bring you into the business because that was a distributor kit and the registration, if I made anything off of that $50, then that's illegal.
Right.
But if I only make money off of helping you market, distribute, retail the products and the services, that's quite legal.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, the last one real quick, and there's a bunch of them, you answer them all here in the book, but the one I set, the one that kept me out of this industry for 4 months, and if you knew what I'm making now, it cost me a lot that's a house.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm too busy. You know, I was too busy. I was 70 hours a week in another company. I'm too busy.
And so, again, if I can just look for the question in disguise, what you're probably really asking me is that can I do this with the limited time that I have?
Exactly.
Because I do have a lot of things, and I can really respect, Jeff, that that you're busy. In fact, if you want to know the truth, that's why you're one of the first people that I contacted, because it's the busy people
Isn't
that
that
get
the
things
irony,
done.
the paradox in this business? You want the busy people. We don't want the guy that's not busy. We want the
Right.
person that's out there doing things, making things happen.
Sure. And so in relating to that, again, I lower his defenses and so forth, open up a little bit, and I say, one of the things you might find interesting is I'm not here to take up a lot of your time to begin with. I've got some stuff I just like you to review. Here's a video. Here's a book that takes 35, 40 minutes to, here's an audio tape. In other words, when you see successful people, don't try to bombard them with take a lot of their time. Give them information in the form where they see it's something that they can review on the way home from work.
Third party.
Okay, well, you bet, third-party stuff, so that they don't perceive that they have to go to a lot of meetings and so forth. And then once they start to see the information, they'll start connecting with it. Many of them will.
Right.
And then in the process of connecting, they've got enough of a belief that creates an interest for them to find the time to invest, to take a look at it even further.
A lot of time an objection, just you restate the question, it's just a good way to get more information for the review, not for you to sit there and keep talking.
You bet. I'm not here to take a lot of your time.
Right.
Actually, one great approach is to contact a busy person that you know and say, Jeff, I know you're really busy. I got something though that's so exciting. I think you need to look at. There's just a great opportunity here. I tell you what, I want to come on by. I want to drop off a piece of information to you, and I promise it'll only take 2 minutes. And if I stay 1 second past 2 minutes, I'll donate $250 to your favorite charity. You know? So now you're showing that busy person that this thing can be introduced to others in less than 2 minutes. And you drop off a video, you drop off an audio cassette tape, then you do your follow-up, to stay in touch. It's the process, Jeff, that you talk about. Keeping the person in the process, not trying to sit down and take a busy person and take 45 minutes to an hour of their time on the first time you chat with them. Use the process, take a busy person, take 1 minute, 2 minutes, plant the seed, keep planting the seed until they connect and they see, wow, maybe there's something here. Then they'll find the time. They'll find the time to learn more.
And some will, some won't.
Some will, some are waiting.
Okay. Okay, now we've gone through the whole process here. We see the industry for what it really is, where it's going. We've understand a purpose is actually more important than goals. With our purpose, we can align ourselves with our goals. And we understand now in the process of developing that list, and it's an ever-expanding list all the time, and we prospect more with our music than with our words. We set our environment for prospecting. We're out there now presenting the opportunity and using third-party validation as much as possible. Understand there will be some objections, and we deal with those objections, and all these things we're going to get better as we go along. But now it comes down to duplicating that process, making this business duplicatable. You know, and that's where the power of network marketing comes. If you get good at all these things but can't teach it and make it duplicatable, then you're basically working linearly, like we always do in corporate America or small business America. So, you know, that is really what brings this whole thing together.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly.
Okay, it's power of duplication. It's like the whole idea behind this is creating and finding independent business associates, not dependent ones. If you want more dependents, go out and have more kits. What you want to do is set up an environment that really facilitates duplicating yourself. And a lot of that comes from sitting down with someone that you've just enrolled. They're excited. They have a vision of achieving specific things, and you want to find out exactly what those are, and you want to set up the parameters. So how are you going to work together? It's like setting up like targets, mutual targets, and then finding out exactly what they're willing to commit as far as time in order to achieve those things, and then having a plan of action of how you work together. So we share like a complete process, what we call an action planner, that within 48 hours of sponsoring someone, here's a checklist of things you want to cover. Yeah, 48 hours.
And have a checklist.
You have a checklist.
Now in your book, you go through 9 chapters of all this stuff, and then chapter 10 kind of brings us all together.
Right.
And part of that is something I've always preached, which is slow down and smell the roses.
Yes.
Here's this person who's interested. They got their questions. They have a right to get them answered. Get away from your office or your house, their office or house. Get a coffee shop.
Get together with them on
personal bonding time. And this is what you're talking about here
one
with
on
that
two,
checklist.
2-on-1. If their spouse is involved or needs to be a part of it, get them there, and then you sit down. And I've had action planners that have gone as little as 30 minutes because obviously the person wasn't really willing to commit.
Right.
Okay? And I've had action planners that have gone 3 hours.
And that's okay.
But every minute that an action planner has gone, it has saved me hours, if not days, if not weeks in the
That's
future.
what people don't understand. If they slow down here, they save a lot of time there.
That's right.
And plus, what is your people? Your people are going to do what? What you
do
to them.
You bet. And the action planner is probably one of the most empowering things because it really allows you to create a mutually rewarding relationship with your new recruit, where you're really clear on their expectations and you're both clear as to the plan of action you're going to take in order to achieve those expectations. And if they don't live up to their commitment, all right, it's very obvious. If you don't look to yours, it's very obvious. So it's a real team effort, but it brings so much clarity to the picture. And so the process is simple. Anybody can do it. They just need to learn the process and then play with it enough where they get comfortable at it. Because the speed in which you manifest the things that you want in life is directly proportionate to the speed in which you become comfortable with those things.
Right.
So the more you do, just do the thing and you get the power.
You have the power.
You know,
what I've always said is when you have that list and you sit down with these people and you're basically going over the events, you're going over the tools, you're going over the goals, you're putting that all together, you're answering the questions.
Looking for obstacles, trying to get
for the obstacles and understand, getting them to understand that it's a process and getting them committing to certain meetings. Then at that point in time, the ball kind of moves into their court. And what I've always found is somebody's not doing what I asked them to do, what we committed to together at that meeting, you call it action plan, I've called it a game plan, basically the same thing. Then it comes down to, I always ask, there's one of 3 things have happened. And it's either I didn't explain it well enough, and I'd always like to take the blame myself.
Sure.
Or they don't believe in the business, so I need to address whether it's the company, the industry, or something, or they don't believe in themselves.
Right.
And that's usually it. Everything's a disguise for the last one. And I've learned a real powerful word, it's called why. Just why. And let them answer so I can get back to the real issue. You know, so that's what that game plan does. It allows me to set up the next 90 days of of finding out who that person is that I'm going to work with.
You bet. Yeah, it's powerful, powerful stuff. And one of the favorite things that I like to ask somebody after I give them a presentation, and I can see that there's some level of enthusiasm and excitement and interest there, I'd like to ask them on a scale of like 1 to 10. You know, what do you consider yourself to be right now? And 10 being the highest on the enthusiasm chart. I mean, where do you see yourself? In fact, actually, I learned this from one of your people. You know, it's a powerful way to kind of find out where does this person see themselves on the chart.
Get honest.
You know, and if they say a 3 or a 4, then you can find out why. If it's an 8 or a 9, you find out why. And you really get an understanding as to where that person is and what you need to do to give them enough information to get up to those particular areas that they need to be to function at. So it's powerful stuff.
I was in your seminar one time, and somebody says, John, how do you motivate people? And I remember your answer, you said, you don't motivate people, you find motivated people.
Exactly, yeah. You know? This is not about motivating people.
Have you ever found that this business and through this process we're talking about adding value takes people, I've always said there are people who are like everybody's a butterfly, but some of us are in a cocoon like a caterpillar. And I believe we're all motivated people. You know, we all have within us everything it takes to succeed. And this industry seems to have a tendency to unleash that and allow people who've never maybe been motivated, never been positive, to turn into those successful
people. It brings out the best in people, it truly does. It's an accelerated game of life. Randy Ward wrote that book, Network Marketing, an Accelerated Game of Life, and it's the truth. Network marketing accelerates everything.
It does, doesn't it?
And it allows people to really stretch, come out of their comfort zone, do things that they hadn't done before, but to touch into the possibilities of what it is they can be. I mean, you're a product of that, I'm a product of that. I mean, I look back where I was years ago, and it's amazing how network marketing as a vehicle has allowed me to express myself and tap into things within me that I just didn't even know existed. I dreamed would be nice to have, but never knew existed.
You know, it's really funny you say that. I think back to when I used to had it made in corporate America, and when I owned a big company, and I think what I've learned in the last few years in this industry, and I think now, knowing what I know now, if I was to take that information back to corporate America, small business America, how much more successful I would have been, because like you said, it accelerates life. There's so many more things I've learned here than I ever learned there. And I think it's because it's a part of doing. It's part of being involved in the process. And you know, people always ask me, what's that secret to success in this business? And I'm sure you get that one all the time. And I want to be able to come up with one answer, and that is be here a year from now. Just be here a year from now.
You bet. Show up for the paycheck.
Yeah, and commit to the process, and in that journey you'll learn everything to be successful. And
what was it? Woody Allen once said, I think 90% of life is just showing up, and the other 10% is showing up on time, or something like that. That's about it. I mean, if you're attracted to this thing, move towards it, and just be there a year from now. That's a good way of putting it. Okay.
Well, John, we've talked about a lot of things, and in some ways I feel like we've covered many things, and in other ways I feel like we've just begun.
Oh, we just touched the tip of the iceberg.
Right? And that's what's exciting about this. I know you just, and I really want to thank you. You stopped in here to be with us after being on the road for 2 weeks, doing your 2-day workshops. And I guess you know I use your workshops a lot around the country.
Yes, and I thank you for that, Jeff.
Very many of them, and I thank you, because it's made a major difference in my business. And what I'd like you to do is share with the people why is this workshop valuable? What are you trying to accomplish, and what are you seeing happening out there in the field with the workshop?
Okay, I guess the main thing is it's not only the information that we teach. Obviously, it's powerful stuff. I mean, it's things that I've accumulated from studying the best of the best for the past 13 years. And we've worked hard at packaging this information and presenting it in a way where it makes a difference for people. But I think the biggest reason that people get so much value out of it, Jeff, is the way we teach it. About 60% of the workshop is experiential in format. Oh yeah,
interaction.
So much interaction.
I was there.
Yeah, you were. You could see how many teams that people were broken up into teams, and we teach something like on prospecting and be able to get a chance to play with that, to actually get a feel for it. Again, keep going back to this thing. The speed in which we manifest the things that we want in life is directly proportional to the speed in which we become comfortable with those things, right? So get comfortable with it by doing it. So we allow the people to do, not just listen, not just think, but do at the workshops. So they walk out of there at the end of the day, or the end of the 2 days, very confident and competent about how they're going to apply what it is they just learned. Nothing in theory, but in practical application. And all the components are there. Everything from getting them to really think into the possibilities. We use a game, it's called Think and Win as Big as You Can, that really gets people into the possibility. Great game, stimulates synergy, all of these wonderful things that's necessary in building a highly successful network. Then we get into the goals and the purpose, then we go into the prospecting module, then we go into the presentation module, then the objection module, then the duplication module, and then we cap it all off with the cycle of success, teaching people how to create and recreate success. success after success
Right.
after success in their life, so that it just gets easier and easier to build a successful life.
Right.
And then we tap it off with graduation. You know,
Gotta graduate.
Got to graduate. We got, you know, you
Actually,
get a
just
diploma.
beginning. You know?
Exactly. It's the start of something
Right.
big. That's the name of the workshop.
Exactly.
And come the second day at 6 o'clock in the evening, that's when it really is the start of something big for them, because they have now the tools, they have how to use those tools, and they're confident in the application of it. So they walk out of there completely transformed. And it's not because we transformed them, they transformed themselves because now they own that feeling. You know, it's not just motivation, Jeff, it's the inspiration that now they see, they have the light within them, and they know exactly how they're going to go out there and create their success.
Right. One last question.
Sure.
And we're going to wrap up. We're talking to the new people here, and that's what this is all aimed at, in duplication. And if you, with all your experience behind you and everything you know, if you had one thing or basic message you'd like to deliver to a new person, whether they're looking at this business for the first time or they've just been involved less than 90 days and they're going through that time of maybe wondering, or maybe have, you know, their friends are influencing them one way or the other, what would be your simple advice to them to get from here to point B, that next point, adjust and continue on?
I guess the most simple thing that I can recommend to people is that they get in touch for the reasons that they want to do it, not thinking about what other people might be thinking. When we all have this fear of failing because of what other people are going to think, not on basis of what we're going to experience. Understand that failure is part of the process, and you don't have to fail in order to be successful, but you've got to be willing to.
Right.
And the main thing is that if you can find and discover within yourself your personal reasons why you want to do this thing, then you'll push through that pain of what other people might think to get to the pleasure of being what it is you want to be. So that comes from belief. And Jeff, you know just as well as I do that our industry, because of the low entry level and the investment, we attract a lot of people that see the possibilities and dream they can be a part of that, but don't necessarily believe yet that they can. So give the people that are there to support you every opportunity to help instill that belief system within you. Stay in the process, stay in the process, stay in the process. Your belief system will be raised every single time, because you'll eventually get to a point like where you and I are. Because if they knew what we know, Jeff.
Oh, if they felt what we feel.
If they felt what we feel, you're absolutely right. If they saw what we see, they would be in the process. They would be committed to it. I mean, they'd have to give up everything they have right now to do that, but they would be in it, and they would stay in it, and they'd show up a year from now to collect what it is they see.
Get that check.
You bet.
Well, John, I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
The time
Jeff.
you've given us is time that's very valuable to us. And for you people out there that have taken the time to tune in today, I hope this is information that can help you in your process. Obviously, we've touched on a lot of subjects briefly, and we didn't have the time to go into everything. Everything you need to know is already written, right, John?
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that have shown us the path.
Yeah,
and
so,
they're willing to do that. It's just not for free.
Right.
Most people think that education is expensive, but they don't understand the cost of ignorance either.
The cost of ignorance is very high.
Yeah, a lot more expensive.
I've always said everything you need to know has already been written. It's already in the books, and it's in the seminars. And so it's just the beginning of a process. What for you people looking in, what I'd ask you to do is get more information and keep that studying process going. You know, we've touched a lot of things about why network marketing, and we've gone into the different aspects of the business, but it really goes right back into your court. What are you going to do with this information? And again, it doesn't really matter at all where you're at today. It matters where you're going to be a year from now. And we all know that to go from where you're at to where you want to be is baby steps, is that process of just going a little bit, adjusting, as John says, adjusting to those baby steps, and then moving on. And so with that, we thank you for taking the time. We know your time is valuable. We respect that, and we respect the fact that you shared your time with us, and we look forward to seeing you down the road. Thanks a lot.
You bet. Bye.
Bye-bye.